Hello, everyone. Welcome. Good to see you all. We have people coming in and just some last-minute registrations that we might see some additional folks coming in. I'll ask Simeon to keep a watchful eye on the waiting room and make sure that we get everyone in. Okay. Great. Welcome again to week three of the Make It Until You Make It challenge. And this week we have the Spotify Make It challenge. We are really excited to present to you what is our favorite challenge of all the challenges, honestly, so far. I mean, this is one of the ones we were repeating from last fall. We may have some new ones that emerge as favorites, but we had so much great participation from students who both attended the Monday event as well as watched the recording and came on Friday ready to present their creations. So we are going to, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to dive right in. And early in the program, actually, let's see, hold on. All right, you get to see the menu tabs open and my crazy inbox of 14,000 emails. Okay. Thumbs up if you can see my screen. All right, great. Welcome again. And even though last week was the LinkedIn challenge, we are a community that encourages you to expand your community, and we are all resources to one another. So we want you to drop your LinkedIn handle in the chat window. Make sure you're including the HTTPS because that makes it automatically hyperlink in Zoom. So you can click on it and go to other people's profiles. So drop it in the chat window so we can add one another, and you're immediately expanding your network, your professional network. And you never know who's 1, 2, 3 degrees of separation away who might be able to help you in your career. So this is a 10-week series. It is focused on enhancing your emotional intelligence, on exercising your design mindset, quickly prototyping, not overthinking, not fearing failure, presenting your early work and your ideas to a safe community who can give you critical feedback, help you lift up your strengths, and know about yourself what you're really good at and what you still need to improve, so that you can communicate this to employers, because emotional intelligence is such an important part of what companies are looking for. And we help you land your dream job. And recently we have reached out to, so the Spotify challenge, week 3. Next week is the Yahoo challenge, and then a whole bunch more coming down the pike. If you participate in them all, you are going to find yourself adding new skill sets, adding new networks, adding new capabilities that might bring your career into a direction that is incredibly new and wonderful. So what I was saying about jobs and internships, we have an extensive corporate network, and there are some companies who have asked us to look for talent, particularly talent who represent underserved populations, who can help them diversify their employee base and also present opportunities for the people we want to serve. So Roblox is an example of that. They're looking for a sound engineer, summer internship, remote. The mentor from Roblox comes to all our events, and you can meet him personally. Verizon is an important partner. We've got some folks on the line here. They've got a number of jobs. Universal Audio is a close friend of Real Industry. They've got a couple they've sent our way to float to you. Bose, long-standing partner, SiriusXM through Pandora, a longtime partner. ByteDance, the company that owns TikTok, lots of jobs in all different aspects of their company, as is Take-Two Interactive, a fast-growing gaming company, maker of GTA, Grand Theft Auto, NBA 2K. And this is a duplicate slide, please ignore. We're not going to get to this just yet. Okay, great. We are going to get to our first speaker. And to do that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and ask my colleague from Verizon, Matt Taylor, to make the intro.
I would love to, but just a quick check. Is there anyone waiting in the waiting room? Because I don't see Jared on the line yet.
No one's waiting in the waiting room as it stands right now, but we could actually flip things around so that we introduce the challenge first and some of the video clips that we want to share in support of that, and then end it with dessert and have Jared top it off.
I like that. A key lesson in content production: stay nimble.
Exactly. All right, great. So in the meantime, feel free to reach out to Jared and give him this link. Okay, great. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again, and let's see. Can someone give me a shout out if you can see my screen?
Yeah, we can see the PowerPoint.
Excellent. All right, so we're going to hear from Jared in just a little bit, and we're going to ask him questions and comments later. In the meantime, this is the Spotify challenge. Now, what many of you don't know yet is that Spotify is putting a lot of money, doubling down on the realm of podcasts for very good reason. And before we get started, we're going to ask you, what's your favorite podcast? And we want you to drop it in the chat window. And I'm going to actually stop sharing my screen so I can see this chat window. And okay, great. Swindled. I've never heard of that. I will have to check that out. Ear Biscuits, says Grace. Toph says up first and consider this. See, I just love asking people I know their podcast recommendations because you can find some real amazing gems. Chara asks questions about what's Ear Biscuit. Sounds epic. Toph says Dope Labs. I would say that for me personally, I'm a big listener to The Daily. This is produced by New York Times. It is amazing content. I listen I listen pretty religiously to NPR's 5-minute news segment. Radiolab, Reply All, those are some of my favorites. Dissect, says Matt. He breaks down music lyrics word by word. That's pretty amazing. Well, thank you, everyone. This is terrific. So we are going to get into the challenge of the week. And for that, I'm going to ask Simeon to take himself off mute and share about the challenge.
Thanks, Shumira. So this week is the Spotify challenge. And for those who are returning, will be familiar to this challenge. But for you who are new, what we're simply asking is for you to design and create your own podcast. As you've been seeing for the past couple of years, like Humira said, there's been an uptick in a lot of people joining podcasts and creating their own podcasts because simply it's a form of media and a form of content that doesn't take much effort. You can talk about things that you know about or things that you're not sure about, and you can sort of have a conversation with people, around a topic that you're familiar with or that you like. So in this specific challenge, we want you to pick a topic that you care about deeply, something that you might either understand, whether it's in your educational background or something that you like to do on the side. But we want you to create a podcast in the form of making this a continuous series. Because, now when it comes to diversifying yourself and showing, different companies your skills, you want to make sure that you're able to show that you're competent in a field that you're interested in or a specific area of knowledge that you know about. So a podcast is a great way of showing that.
I'm going to build on what Simeon is saying here. An incredibly powerful way for you to differentiate yourself to employers is to show your thought leadership, right? Something that shows that you have an opinion, a point of view, and that you have knowledge you're willing to impart and disseminate to help lift others up. And so this is a very powerful way for you to do that. The other thing is to show your values. Perhaps it's not in your field, and that's okay too. You show something that there's more to you than just your field or your career. There's depth to you as a human. And so that's why we would like you to pick something that you care deeply about, whether it's in your major or your field or not. It doesn't matter. Okay, great. And then the second part of this challenge, Simeon, you want to add to this?
Yeah, so Descript. Descript is a fantastic tool that majority of mainly pro and average, content creators for podcasting use. Descript, I've used Descript personally for my work here at Real Industry. It works out fantastic. So they have this thing where you can automate the words throughout the podcast, that you can selectively change certain words around and highlight certain parts about the conversation that you want to keep, or certain things that you emphasize on. It's a very useful, user-friendly tool that I highly recommend. Obviously, if you have your own tools, I would use it as well. But if you haven't used Descript, I would definitely recommend it. You get a free week trial too, so it'll last the week of the session, and it's a fantastic tool.
Awesome. Yeah, we love Descript. And like all the greats from NPR to The Daily to the Post, Washington Post, they all use Descript because it is a very powerful tool. And it's really a no-brainer because you can produce professional quality audio using Descript's free version. And that's why we really want to urge you to create your free account and use it for this purpose, to just really show off your skills and learn, because we think that this is going to be an important way for you to differentiate yourself as a candidate to employers. Okay, so I'm going to share with you some additional tools. I stopped sharing my screen because I'm going to grab some information real quick. Okay, and back to sharing screen. Matt, just checking in briefly to see that we are still good. Yes.
He confirmed about an hour ago.
Oh,
just
great.
I
I
about
see.
5 minutes to see where he is. So.
Well, I just, because I'm not sharing my screen, I noticed that he was in the waiting room. Hey, Jared, I hope you weren't waiting for long. Good to see you. Hi, welcome, Jared.
Yo, how you doing, guys?
Great. All right. Matt, how about that intro? We can get back to our program at a later time.
No. How you doing? I'm sorry. How you guys going? I actually have to run to another meeting. I thought this was another. I'm so sorry. But I want to talk to all of you guys and tell you guys all the crazy stories about how I got to being a host at Yahoo. It's just going to take me a second. I need about 20 minutes and then I can come in and give you guys a great interview. All right?
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Thank you.
See you then.
See you.
Hey, students, number one rule of doing anything is that you have to roll with things in real time and recover really easily. And we model that because we value it. There's no need to get all flustered. We just come back to it later. All right, so I'm gonna go back to sharing my screen, and we're gonna build on the information that we shared with you about the challenge. Okay, so last fall, we had every student create a podcast about something in their educational space. We really wanted them to focus it on their music career, or if they were focused on anti-racism work or what have you. And so we collectively, all together, created a Make It Until You Make It channel on Spotify's Anchor FM platform. It's a very powerful tool that allowed us to upload all of this audio, hit a button, and publish it across every podcasting platform, from Apple Podcasts to Spotify's podcast platform to, you name it, every single icon that you see here, the where to listen piece. So you can go there and check it out. And when we share this slide deck with you after this event, you can go to visit any of those. Some of our students chose to take up our offer for them to design a whole concept around their podcast. Others weren't crazy about this, but we thought this came out great. And actually, Grace Burke is in the audience here today, first-year student at Spelman, who took the opportunity to design a podcast series that really exemplifies her love of animals. She's going to be a vet one day, majoring in biology, loves animals. You should check out her podcast. Well, what we're asking you to do is what Grace did last fall, which is to design a whole concept around a podcast, record the trailer, record the audio of whatever your podcast is, your first one, and do it again with an eye towards something that you really love and care about, because you just might find that you want to publish a second and a third and a fourth episode. Okay, so last fall we had the Spotify team on the line, and two colleagues from our Spotify network joined us and told us a little bit about Anchor. And I'm going to just play for you a few select clips that gives you everything you need to know. Again, you have this deck so you can watch the entire hour event if you are interested at another time. We have Armand Wilson from Anchor FM, which was purchased by Spotify, and also Anna Siam as part of this entire recording. But again, we're just going to play for you the really relevant clips so that you can wrap your head around why we're asking you to use Anchor to publish this Spotify podcast. It'll be very evident in just a minute. First, we're going to ask Anna to share with you her view on why podcast usage is exploding. Let's listen.
Awesome. Well, next slide, I guess. I'm glad that you're all really excited about listening to podcasts. And we're going to talk about creating a podcast. And so why are, podcasts all the rage right now? It's no surprise. I think, podcasts have been around since 2004, 2005, but they're really having a moment today. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. But one of the biggest reasons is that they are super easy to make. And for a long time, they hadn't been. And Armand will show you exactly why that is. But we found that, people like to create podcasts because it's a great way to share your story, share your perspective, share your voice in your own authentic way. The second thing is that, it's also a great way to connect with friends, family, and maybe people that you don't know yet and you just want to have on your podcast for an interview. And it sounds like some of you have already been doing that with your project last time with Describe. And then, it's another way to express yourself with a pretty low budget creative outlet. So we've actually seen a lot of people shift from the video world to podcasting. It's a lot less production when it comes to just, pure audio. You can just record your conversation and get it out there. And it's another great way to expand your personal brand. I know this is really important to people these days. Everybody has a personal brand. You might pay a lot of attention to that, like what your personal brand is on social media. I think with podcasts, it's another way to be heard and to be your true self by sharing your voice. And then the last one is about making the content you've already created go even further. So if you're already making something for your YouTube channel, you can also use that content as audio and have another way for people to connect to it.
Okay, great. So I'm sure you've seen the use of podcasts even in academia with educators, your faculty, using it as a way to asynchronously give you content that is super powerful and easy to digest, right? You can do this while you're walking, while you're exercising, while you're cooking, while you're washing dishes. You can passively consume a lot of content. using this medium in a way that doesn't require you to sit and watch a screen and see a person or see a person being interviewed by another. So very powerful tool. Now, why Anchor? So let's hear from Armand about this crazy powerful tool.
I'm happy to chat a bit about why Anchor and like why, you know, Anchor has had a ton of success with the rise of podcasting as a whole. So I think this slide is a good kind of, you know, picture of how podcasting has been throughout all the years. You know, podcasts have been around for over, you know, 10, 15 years now, but really they've become mainstream in the recent years. And that's really because a lot of companies have been thinking deeply about how to eliminate all these barriers to entry. So traditionally, when you want to go start a podcast, you'd think you either have to go to a recording studio or buy a bunch of equipment and you know, Google and figure out how to, like, what equipment you need and set up a whole recording studio in your home or in your dorm room. You think you need to have a ton of like technical know-how with coding and making sure that you'd be able to distribute the podcast manually to all these different places. And then just the editing process in general would just be a very time-consuming process. When we thought about building Anchor, the whole concept behind it was really to make this a way more simplified process. So now what we have in Anchor is, you know, we have a platform that is optimized for both desktop, mobile, or iPad. We have a ton of really easy use to creation tools, and we really just tried to make this whole process much, much more simplified. So I think this video is a good little summary. Hopefully y'all can hear this.
So I know this is kind of meta. You're watching a video, you're on a Zoom call watching a video of a guy playing a video, but bear with us.
You have a lot to say. Maybe you've thought, I should start a podcast. Meet Anchor, the easiest way to make a podcast ever. It's a powerful mobile app and web tool that lets you record a podcast anywhere and distribute it everywhere. It's great whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out. And it's 100% free. You can record your show straight into Anchor on your phone, iPad, or the web, using any mic you want. Record alone or with friends or co-hosts anywhere in the world. You can add background music and transitions, and your listeners can send you voice messages that you can incorporate right into your next episode. If you want to produce your show using another app, you can upload your own audio directly from web or mobile, and still take advantage of Anchor's totally free podcast hosting. Once your podcast is ready to publish, Anchor can automatically distribute it to every major podcast platform. That includes Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, so your listeners can hear your show wherever they want. And on the web, you can see detailed analytics about how people are listening. Plus, you'll get a great-looking profile page where anyone can listen to your podcast or subscribe to it. And if you want to ask your audience to support your work, Anchor makes it easy to collect monthly payments from the people who love your podcast and want to see it grow. You really don't need a recording studio, expensive equipment, or a bunch of technical knowledge to deal with a podcast feed. Just get started and join the diverse community of podcasters already on Anchor. We can't wait to hear your podcast.
So again, just the fact that they Anchor, the biggest, you know, there's lots of tools on the internet and on the mobile app that allows you to record and edit down audio. Lots of tools. And you could use a lot of different tools to make your first podcast. But the most compelling thing that we found about this Anchor tool is that it allows you to publish across platforms in like with the press of a button, and also to monetize that. And we're going to hear a little bit more about that monetization in a minute.
Couple caveats there. That video is incredibly old, like maybe like a year and a half old. So the product looks a lot better. We have a ton of more features today. And also, I think we should also call out that we are amongst the model, Anna, who was also in the video, if you spotted her there. This was before Anchor had that Spotify marketing budget. So yeah, so when it comes to, you know, you decide that you want to start a podcast, like what actually goes into it. I think like when describing Anchor and when talking about creating a podcast in general, it's easiest and like most digestible for people to like break it down into these like 3 core areas or 3 like big steps throughout the process. The first is creation. So similar to, I'm sure, a lot of what you talked about with Descript, which is another creation platform. This is like the one piece that we have at Anchor is we have really easy to use the creation tools, which I know that video just highlighted. So you can, just pick up your phone, and because microphones and phones are so good now, you can just record right through your phone, or you can plug in external microphones, and you can do things like add background music that adjusts with your voice, and add really cool transitions, and we make it really easy to upload audio from, like, you can upload a video and we can pull out the video and just have an audio file. One of the really cool features we use is called voice messages, which allows fans and friends to send in audio clips, and you can essentially drag and drop those in the episode builder and help build content based off of your friends' short little voice clips. So regardless of whether you use Anchor's tools to create your podcast, or you use a different company, like you could use Descript to create your podcast and then directly upload that audio, either way is completely fine. The second thing that we really do is we offer free unlimited hosting, and we automatically distribute to all the major listening platforms. So going back in time, one of the other big barriers to enter of podcasting was it was really expensive. There's a lot of companies that would charge you monthly fees, $50 or $100 a month just to store and distribute your podcast to all the listening apps. But our approach again was really just to simplify the whole step, and the core of that was with hosting. So it's completely free to use Anchor. We never charge a fee to any of our creators. And it's unlimited. There's no storage limits, and with the click of one button, we'll distribute you everywhere. So before Anchor, you'd have to manually apply to Spotify and Apple and Google Podcasts and Stitcher and all these other listening apps if you wanted to be distributed there. You click one button on Anchor, we go and we do that for you. And as you all know, like, Anchor is a Spotify-owned company, but we're still platform agnostic. We still distribute our creators' content to all the major listening apps. So we don't gate, your content just to one place.
So again, super powerful one-click distribution. The fact that you used to have to apply to get into all these different places. The other thing I wanted to share, and this is something that they don't say, but I saw Spotify and some recent acquisitions in the podcast space on the big stage at South by Southwest in 2018, big conference that has media and content people and entertainers and so forth, thought leaders sharing their strategies. And Spotify is really trying to provide content creation tools, not just have, we all know Spotify as like the place to go to put together playlists and listen to music. Well, they're trying to create as many tools as possible for the people who make music and want to push out and distribute their own music. Same on the podcasting side. They're really trying to expand their podcasting portfolio and have a whole array of content creation tools that make it a no-brainer for you to create and distribute. All right, so let's just, one last thing about monetization, and then we'll move off of the Anchor platform.
And then the last piece is monetization. So again, it's completely optional to opt into this, but currently on Anchor, we have 2 different ways to monetize today. We have a feature called Listener Support, which was mentioned in the video. It's essentially like a virtual tip jar, a way to collect monthly subscription payments from fans and listeners, but just built directly for podcasting, similar to a Patreon, but just for podcasting. And the second kind of bigger opportunity we have at Anchor is Anchor sponsorships. And this was launched about 1.5 years ago, and it was actually the day that we launched this was when Spotify reached out to us. So here's a quick little video on Anchor sponsorships.
Until now, finding a sponsor for your podcast has been really hard. Anchor Sponsorships changes all of that by doing the work for you and matching you with great advertisers that fit your podcast. It's a new world of advertising for independent podcasters. Here's how it works. When you turn on sponsorships, we'll start connecting you with potential sponsors right away. As soon as we match you with one you want to work with, all you need to do is record a custom ad in your own voice. Then choose where in each of your episodes you want your ad to appear. As your episode gets played, you get paid. And you can cash out whenever you want. Sign up now and start getting paid to podcast.
Great. And that too is sort of one of those no-brainers. Traditionally, it's been really hard for people to make money off of podcasts unless you have a very, very large audience. But for you to find a niche and a set of people who are very passionate about what you do and who you are, you could build up your own set of sponsors who want to fund your work. And that's important for sustainability of your project. Okay, so next let me just share my screen. And Tara, I'm going to be passing it over to you in a moment. I know our plan changed a little bit, but let's see. I'm going to actually just look at this deck first. Okay, so Descript also joined us last fall. We're not going to play for you the audio, but we are including in the deck that you'll get in a little bit, Jay LaBeouf, their business development person's tutorial that he gave all of us. Jay actually was a former executive director of Real Industry, and he is excited to see the work that you create in Descript. We also included, hold on a second, a 7-minute tutorial in this deck. It is excellent. So really all you need to do is watch the 7-minute tutorial and you will know how to use Descript. However, we thought we would take this opportunity to actually give you a very quick demonstration. So Tara, take it away.
Hey team. All right, so I'll give you a quick demo of Descript. And I'll try to start from scratch. So when you open Descript, hold on, let me share my screen quick. I got too excited.
And don't forget to share audio as well.
Yes. Desktop, share sound. Okay, cool. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, and then now you're looking at Descript, or you should
Correct.
be. Sweet. So you open Descript and it shows you all of your different projects. Let's start a new project. We'll just say Spotify challenge. And it is really similar to Google Drive and Google Docs. So I'm just gonna click like a random audio that I have somewhere in here. So let's do like a student podcast. Okay, so this is a podcast submission from last fall from the Spotify challenge. And so right now the audio is loading. Sorry, one sec. There we go. So Descript, you can also, you can edit the audio also without editing the video, or you can edit the video as well. Okay, so right now it just uploaded like as the file. And so that's the composition. And then you'll get the option to transcribe this file, which, oh, here we go. So transcribe file, very first option at the top, is basically all it does is it takes all of the audio from your file and then transcribes it into a text, and it'll look like a Google Doc. So, and it identifies the amount of speakers, and you can name them afterwards. So right now it's transcribing. It usually takes about a few minutes, and it'll give you notifications down here. So in the lower right, you'll see, okay, multiple speakers detected. There we go. Okay. And if you have better Wi-Fi, it'll probably transcribe in a few minutes. But while this one is transcribing, I will show you guys one that's already transcribed. so that we can just get right into it.
And while Tara calls that up, I'm going to tell you that our plan was to actually take our speaker, Jared Quay's audio from his talk, and Tara would have been able to pull that in and showed you the audio in real time, but it's that easy. Zoom produces some pretty great audio that you can pull in and edit. Please continue, Tara.
Okay, awesome. So I just opened a previous project we had.
I know.
And then I'll do a Spotify challenge example. So say you have 3 different audio clips. It is so easy, guys. I've never done video editing in my life. You can upload the 3 different clips, and then once they're transcribed, it's literally like Google Docs. I can just copy the section that I want to work on, and then I can paste it in the other file, and it copies over the audio, the video, everything with just copying and pasting the words. So Descript basically as easy as Google Docs. And so let's say after you've transcribed it, there's a couple cool tools. So you do have the option to remove filler words. So it'll pick up on all the ums, ahs, anything like that. Or you could also, sometimes, you like a nice or an ah or a natural pause, you can leave those in. And editing the audio, you can edit it as simple as highlighting the words.
And actually, Tara, if you wouldn't mind just playing the first paragraph.
Oh yeah, here we go.
And then, showing what it looks like to edit it.
Yes, here we go.
But maybe, everybody's probably scaling back at this point. So what advice would you give to aspiring young ladies who might be sophomores, juniors, seniors in their undergraduate program, and maybe even coming out of, their master's degrees and so forth?
Okay. My advice to them would be to not get defeated. Don't give up. If it's something that you...
All right, so that was a little bit of the audio. You can go back and say, maybe here, our guest said, twice. Just highlight the words and delete, just like Google Docs. And if you want to go back, so once you delete it, or once you make any sort of edit, this little gray line pops up right here. And you can always click on it to go back and see what edit you did, or just Command Z as well, or back, just like Google Docs, same keyboard shortcuts as well.
So once you delete it, Tara, go ahead and delete it again, and then show folks what it looks like.
I'll play it again.
Yeah, so that show how natural it is.
And you can play from anywhere. Just if you click here, that'll be our starting point. So let's see.
Give to aspiring young ladies who might be sophomores, juniors, seniors in their undergraduate program, and maybe even coming out of their master's degrees and so forth.
Okay. So did you guys catch how seamless that was? And we just deleted the words, which also deleted the audio and video as well.
Great, thank you, Tara.
No problem.
Okay, so so definitely what we would like to do is have you use Descript, because when you put on your resume and in your LinkedIn that you made a podcast and you use Descript, it's going to say something about you as a possible hire, right? You don't have to become you don't have to join the Daily or become a professional podcaster in order to show to an employer that, hey, I can create that podcast for your customer needs, for your internal human resource needs, for, think of the myriad of applications of just sharing professionally edited audio, right? So you become that much more versatile a hire when you show that you have that capability. So, so we would love, as part of the challenge, we'd like you to design the entire concept of a podcast. If you can't think of what that might be ping us and we will brainstorm with you. If you love Call of Duty, then make it on Call of Duty. If you love gardening, do it on gardening. But think about what it is that you could go on and on forever about, or interview a whole array of connections about. could be on a social mission in your community. You want to illuminate some important issue like racial injustice or what microaggressions look like. Or and by the way, I have a whole array of podcasts on microaggressions that I use for training my local white community about how they could be more anti-racist. It came tremendously in handy when I played a 6-minute audio of our Asian valedictorian talking about the slurs that he received and kids asking him if he ate dog in the 6th grade and how he just had to, he became really resilient about it. But audio can be a very powerful tool. It doesn't necessarily only have to be a podcast application. So think about that and be creative and think about how you might want to, what direction you might want to take this in. So you will be designing a whole podcast concept. You'll be creating it in Anchor in terms of that concept. You will be editing the audio of your podcast in Descript. And even though Anchor has their own audio creation tools, you'll be making it in Descript and then uploading it to Anchor. And then you will hit submit and it'll go across the different platforms. So I'm going to pause there and see what questions you might have about the challenge itself.
Okay, so
And we're a small group, so take yourself off mute and share.
So I'm a little confused.
Oh, bring it.
If so, you want us to make the podcast on Descript, like record and edit on Descript, submit it to Anchor. But if we submit it to Anchor, aren't you going to put it on your account?
Well, last fall, we said, we're not going to bother you with designing a whole concept and creating an account. We don't, we will, accrue 15 or 18 student podcasts and publish it on your behalf. So you're part of a series. We did that. Yes. We're not doing that this time around. The reason we're not doing that this time around is because we want each of you to do what Grace did. Look, Grace is right there. Grace, wave. That Grace. She created this amazing podcast concept, right? And she recorded her first one. Now we want to urge you, and we actually deliberately had the Spotify challenge be the 3rd challenge of the 10, because you could come back in, next week with your 2nd episode and your 4th episode and really build something that you find that you really love and you want to continue on with, or at least show your future employers, hey, I made 3 or 4 or 5 of these, not just one. So just to clarify and directly answer the question that you have, yes, we want you to use Descript to create that really professional quality audio, to bring in sound, to cut the ums and ahs, to really take out sentences where the interview or your conversation goes in a different direction. You decide, I don't need to go there. I'm going to condense it. And instead of a 60-minute audio, I have a 15 or 20-minute audio. You can do that much more easily in Descript. We want you to do that there. And then in your own Anchor account, where you've designed what your podcast is going to look like, what it's going to be called, what the trailer sounds like, you're going to upload your Descript audio, and that'll be your very first podcast in your series.
Got it. Okay.
Sorry if I was not clear the first time around. And thank you for asking that question. Okay, other questions? And if you think this is a cool challenge, we want you to tell your friends. Not only will we have this video in your inbox along with the deck that you can forward on to your friends and have a fun sort of like go of it. But also we're going to be floating by TikTok the basic elements of this challenge to try to get lots of people to participate. Any other questions? Okay, so
I have one thought real quick, Humira, if I can just chime in with it, that a friend of mine recently started a podcast and is actually going fairly well. She's got a sponsor already, and it's about books. And she's never written a book in her entire life. So it's just want to throw out there that even if it's not, if it's something that you're interested in, to Humira's point, even if you're not an expert in it, it's still something that's worth pursuing. You could just find someone who is an expert or a semi-expert in, at least, and you just host the conversation, because by simply bringing them on and you doing the work within Descript and bringing this to life for people, that's value. And so that's something that people can gravitate to.
That is such an important point. We're all learning here, right? So as you learn to make that process, that learning transparent, and go find people with knowledge that you don't know about, that is perfectly sound, a sound strategy. In fact, if you think of like all those Christmas unboxing videos that go viral, like those folks are not experts of those toys or those things that they're featuring. They're just simply showing you their initial reaction. So the world is your oyster. You really can do a whole bunch of things and use it as an opportunity to learn and show how you think, right? Because if you are making your learning transparent, what kinds of questions you ask, what you're curious about, how you think about the implications of what it is you're talking about, whether it's a new technology or a book, and you share that with future employers and others, it's going to demonstrate your thoughtfulness. It's going to demonstrate how you think, right? And that's a very valuable thing for you to just add as a link on your LinkedIn or add as a link onto your resume with a little bit.ly, right? So you can show employers a lot more about you, a lot more depth about you than most people can or know how to do.
100%. I'll just pile on to that, Humera. I love this challenge. I think this is one of the coolest things because it is democratizing the ability to create content and in such a compelling way where people can just pursue their passions and start there and learn. And I'll make a personal admission. I'm at the beginning of my podcast journey. I had written an article that revealed a space that there didn't exist any podcast before. So I'm at the very beginning and just loving getting all these resources. And one of the number one cool things that I've gotten so far from recording interviews and presenting back to people is a little bit more awareness of my own public speaking performance. And so if public speaking is something that you're interested in, at some stage you want to be able to talk in front of larger groups of people or host conversations, it's an incredible opportunity to just get feedback on what you're like, record yourself, and then you can work to improve it over time. So don't be precious about it, be prolific, and just have fun.
I couldn't agree with you more. And to build on that even, so if you're an extrovert and you like to speak and you want to really polish, you really get very analytical about your own ums and ahs and your own sort of like style in a way that helps you correct. So it's super insightful. And if you're introverted, and I'm going to pick on my dear colleague, Grace Burke here, because she admitted in her podcast, which I hope you all get to hear, that she's very much an introvert, and that I don't know if Grace, I'd love to hear your comments on this. There were two podcasts that we had you do. The first one was using Descript, the Descript challenge last fall. And then we had you do the Spotify challenge. And you were like, well, the pandemic actually, I am an introvert, so I kind of really liked going back home and like learning from home, and I'm fine, right? So describe for us your process of creating the podcast versus some of the more extroverted things that people do to get themselves out there, like YouTube videos or Twitch or TikTok. So what are your thoughts about that, the podcast medium for sharing your ideas as an introvert?
I think it's a little bit easier. I don't really I don't listen to my voice a lot, so it's like the little weirdness of hearing your own voice. But I think it's much easier in that I don't have to show my face and like have to like emote more. I can just talk about something that I enjoy, so then I get lost in like what I'm talking about instead of thinking about what like how it's gonna appear to everybody else. I'd say that the most difficult thing though is like when you're trying to edit it at the end, because you're hearing everything and you're just like, oh well, I could have done this better, and then I want to re-record something, and in the end I was just like, this sounds good, I like this, and even if I want to change certain things, it's fine. So I put it out there, and I think it was really good. It's a really good exercise in just like trying to be more confident. So it was very helpful in that, but it's just a fun exercise that we did.
Thank you for sharing that, Grace. I could not agree with you more. Every time I've done the audio and then done the editing, I'm like, if I had, well, creating it with the same background noises and stuff, you start to remember, okay, I need to do this in the same quiet space that has the same buffer. A lot of people do their podcasting in their closet, right? Because it's like a sound studio and your voice is buffered. And so thinking about those things, but you could easily, and actually the Descript tool has this little microphone along the top. So you could just click on that microphone, say your sentence, and it'll add it right to that Google Doc-like interface. And all of a sudden, that sentence that you wish you had said, you now have said, and it's inserted into the whole script as you want it. And it also, this is something that came up last time, is that really being thoughtful in advance, to the extent that you can be really thoughtful about the questions you want to ask, about the direction that you want the interview to go in, about the arc that you want it to go in. And that's not to say that you can't take delightful sidetracks based on what is uncovered and really like run with it, right? Because you just never know. You can't anticipate that incredible response that that person you're interviewing gave you. Or maybe if it's just you talking, like where your head is at, you just can't predict. But to the extent possible, try in advance to sketch it out and script it out. And then from there, make sure you're just not reading off the script as though it is scripted, because then people will be able to tell that you're reading off of paper. So because you want to be natural. So if you've scripted it, you've rehearsed it, then you can deliver it naturally. And it's okay if you wrote something down and it doesn't quite sound right, speaking it out loud. Like paper writing, print writing is very different from just like conversational speaking. So really play around with it, and don't be afraid to give it 1 or 2 or 3 different goes at it, right? We try to design these challenges for you to be, for it to be lightweight. We know you have a lot going on, the pandemic, your classes, it's really stressful. So we want these to be lightweight opportunities to learn. But that said, this is a really incredible opportunity for you to create a lasting piece that reflects well on you. So give it your best shot. And we're here for you. Contact myself, Tara, Simeon, any of us, and we can help you through editing or any kind of issues. Just reply all to the email that we send you and we can help you out.
Mara, can I share not quite a pro tip, because I'm definitely not a pro, but just a little bit of tidbit of advice for anybody. So I'm definitely an introvert, and all the things that you mentioned in terms of presentation are things I'm working to get better at, even at this stage in my career. So just transparency there. And the thing I will say is that in the spirit of making things conversational, because let's be honest, we all gravitate to things that feel like natural speech, like where people actually connect, is if your concept can involve in interviewing another person, you know, if you can find somebody that you're really genuinely interested in or have a connection with, you're going to have a natural conversation, things will flow. And even if they do involve some awkward transitions or interruptions, that's how actual conversation goes. Watch Joe Rogan. Speaking of Spotify and that whole family, you know, Joe Rogan talks to people for hours and hours and hours. There's plenty of mistakes and gaps in speech, but that's what's alluring. That's what draws you in, is the storytelling and how he gets to know people. So take that into consideration if you're someone who, like myself, isn't necessarily happy to just jump up on a stage and talk to people.
That's excellent advice. And to also build on one other thing, like something that Grace said, and Toph, I think you alluded to it as well. It's hard for everyone to hear their own voice, right? It's just not a natural state for us to hear our own voice. And no one likes the sound of their own voice, no one. So you just have to get over that part. Get over it, because your voice is music to all of our ears. No one detests other people's voice the way you might your own. And the bottom line that I'm trying to get across is, like, when you hear yourself and it freaks you out, you just got to get over it and push past it, because you're going to produce great audio that we're going to love to hear. And so don't worry about the whole, I can't hear my, it's weird. Don't worry about that. Okay, in our last 3 minutes, I'm going to see if there are any questions that still remain. I'm going to scan the chat window here.
When we submit it,
Yeah.
when we finish, like, how would you know if we complete the challenge?
Excellent question. Let me just go ahead and share my screen and give you the last few slides then. Share. All right. So Descript demo, present. After you create your podcast series, it's actually, I did it a little bit out of order. And here it is. Control X, Control V. So there is a link. It will be in the email that Tara sends you. It's called Make It 2021-Submissions. It's a bit.ly. And you just go to that. It's a Google form. You add some information, answer our questions, submit the link to your podcast. And that's how we'll know. And we ask you to give it to us by Thursday. And then we love it when you arrive on Friday to an hour of mentorship. Noon Pacific, 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern, same link that you came to today. And that's where you get to share the audio with mentors from industry who are going to be so excited to hear what you did, tell you what they loved, and also give you critical feedback that helps you make your second one and your third one even stronger. So don't forget to take advantage of that opportunity. This is a great place to meet mentors from the companies that you might be interested in applying to. So you want to develop that rapport and get their real world perspective. Okay, in our last minute, I'm going to ask Tara to drop the Make It 2021 survey in your chat window. And I'm going to give you just a minute to complete that so that, as part of sharing any work product prototype, we just need the feedback in order to continue to get better.
It's 4 o'clock.
So if you wouldn't mind just completing that survey right now, it's super short. There's like 3 questions. Okay, maybe 5, but I'm just going to stop talking and ask you to complete it. Yeah, if you could complete that, that would be great. I realize it's 4 and we're going to release you because we like letting people go on time, but I'm going to trust you to complete the survey. All right, great. I want to thank my colleagues from Verizon, Matt and Toph. Thank you for being here. We'll catch Jared next time. And seems like a really cool person with some great advice to offer, but maybe we can make a spot for him if Friday fits, at the top of the hour, to really inspire everyone. And before we set them off into breakout rooms, it's a possibility. If not, maybe we could look at another Monday.
Yeah, that's a fantastic idea. And thank you, Humira, for hosting this session. Like I said, this is one of our favorites. There's a little bit of wires getting crossed, another interview that was happening, so apologies for that. But we will regroup with Jared and we'll try to make sure he can come back as soon as possible. Hopefully it'll be for that Friday session. But if not, then we'll figure out another time for him to come back and share his experience.
Sounds great. That sounds great. All right. Thank you, everyone. Again, survey. We really want to hear your feedback.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Good luck.
Thank you.
See you later. Bye, Nathan. Bye, Maria.